Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest in Affinidi live demo series. I am Chaitanya, some solutions architect. So this is a live demo series. We're trying to bring latest happening in the tech space. At Affinidi, we data owners to reclaim what theirs, and we allow for their own data. At Affinidi, your concern is not just a priority; it's inherently built in. Today, I'm excited through the process of one of our auth solutions, Authentication. So we have a product login to show how we can use our product with Wordpress, how this can be the context of e-commerce, as you probably are. Wordpress is the most popular out there. Really useful and interesting to see how it is to future-proof your Wordpress applications using the latest that is web world. So welcome on board. We'll get started with the agenda today. In this iteration of our live series, we'll start with the most important question: why we here, right? What problem are we solving? So, missing in the way internet operates, we'll delve a little bit history of how we enter. We need to set the context, and then we'll spend time on the solutions to problems that we are going to discuss. We'll introduce the holistic identity and we'll examine its potential. As an example, will the e-commerce business, we're going to do a little bit of we'll address the problems in e-commerce, of course. And following that discussion, we'll proceed with the live demo, showcasing the authentication WordPress demo shop. So WordPress, as you most popular site builder out there, according to U3Techs, it costs like 42.7% of the website internet. So we can see how we can maintain the level of ease that WordPress offers, but also future-proofing it with the data lab Web 3.0 and so forth. And finally, I'll explore what else is possible with. So let's get started with the why first, right? To establish the problem statement, we need to spend some time reflecting on how internet has evolved since when it was invented by Tim Berners-Lee and others back in 90, it starts a research project. So it was designed for system basically. Started slowly picking up, and people started realizing a cool technology this is, and data analysis began as soon as it's right. We started email logs, websites, online surveys right from the get-go. 1970s to 90s, traditional marketers saw the potential and they started using data to come up with consumer behavior. By the 90s, we have seen emergence of stores like Amazon. They have started collecting customer, and they started doing targeted marketing and acquisition. Right? By 2000, social media have taken over. We have some emergence of Facebook, Twitter, Google, these companies. The enormous amount of their business model was essentially in exchange targeted advertising insights. This model requires a lot of analytic, so a lot of power technologies, new and algorithms have evolved. And finally, seen data monetization has been really big, has taken the center stage. Built their entire models around this, right? But it's not. There are consequences to this, right? So after 2010, we've started seeing consequences. It's not pretty, right? So people have concerns around consent and privacy, ethical implications. So we have allegations of big data influence elections in the recent parts. One example. So there is an increasing concern around data privacy sharing, right? Government started catching new changes, right? Europe has introduced GDPR, that is a data law in trying to protect its citizens from unethical practices. In India, we have DPDP that was passed last year, which is again a tool or the legal to for protection. Yes, we have CCPA, and Entry basically has come up with their own of data protection laws. And companies also have taken responsibilities for their data, and they wanted to be the consumers, right? So they were more for this. So coming to the present day, debate continues on the data privacy. What are the potential benefits of data sharing? That was also being discussed quite. So to do it in a better what was before what happened is using the decentralized solutions. When people centralize, for a lot of the one that comes into mind is a blockchain. A blockchain is a way to do this stuff. So we'll discuss some of the other ways of bringing all the data back to as a it's user centric model based. So let's dive into it. The decentralized model at a 1,000-foot level. We're not going to talk too much into the technical detail right now as we are short on time. Just look at the 1,000-foot level so that it will be useful for business folks and developers out here in the audience, right? So a quick look at what we have been talking about. So we have all your customers' data sitting in different silos. You have the social media data sitting in their Facebook, on. We have the e-commerce site amassing this order history, your preference, and so on and so forth. You have search engines collecting your data, but all of them work like they have their own bases. Your data is not yours anymore; it's with them, right? So what we can do in the decentralized world is move a system-centric to user-centric model. So by that, so earlier we have in the system-centric model, as we just discussed, but in the centric model, the data will be put back into one single data store called as personal data store, right? So this personal data store is where only the user has access to this personal data. He or she controls it. Based on his interest, he might choose to share this data on a need-to-know basis or in a timely fashion with the selective discard and so forth. So what it does is it gives the power back to the user, right? So it's the user at the center of every, and it makes the business also much more ethical. There are a lot of opportunities. This whole ecosystem gives a lot of opportunities for people who want to jump in early, right? So we at Affinidi envision this data sharing called the holistic entity framework, right? Holistic gives 360 degrees of the customer online, right? Own data, so it's its own view, right? It starts with discovering the data where it lies, and then storing the data store, and then it with whoever gives if the customer feels is the right partner which can offer good services in return for the extra data, right? So see value business, they might not want to exchange data, right? So it's completely up to the consumer. So we'll see if a business can do a paradigm, there are a whole lot of business opportunities that will open up. We'll see the moment. So let's solve this. Let's look at business opportunities, right? Some of you folks might be interested, business folks, like to just dive into one specific use case. Let's look at consumer onboarding, for example. 55% of brands say that 1 out of 3 registration left incomplete. Onboarding is such an important as business because it's a process which consumer has through even before the value in you. They have no idea who you are, but you are still asking them to register. They even want to continue in the process because how many times have you seen this screen? Do you want to fill this for every single app? So that's one of the things why users drop very early in the process, right? Complex passwords need to be set for ensure that we don't want the accounts to be hacked, right? We don't want our systems to be vulnerable. But then if we put complex passwords, then you'll have to remember those things. So it adds complexity, right? How many of you hate passwords? Shout out, right? Like, comment. So we all hate those passwords. No one, right? So What if we eliminate all these passwords? Imagine a scenario where proving our identity does not require a password at all, because your password is not equal to identity. Think about it for a second. So if you're going to a physical store, what would you, if the shop, let's say you went to a shop and they asked for your age proof or something like that, would they ask you your password, or would they ask your, let's say, some government issued ID card or something like that? So what is a government issued ID, for example? It gives, it talks about your attributes. It gives the, it's a physical entity that we all relate to. Like, it's not a password basically. But yet in the digital world, if you translate that, we are, identified by our passwords basically, right? It's very important that we shift away from this paradigm, right? So if we want to open up new, better ways of doing business, we'll have to shift away from this old methods, right? At Affinidi, we are committed to playing a part in this transaction. We have developed a solution based on open standards, empowering users to authenticate without the fear of being tethered to a specific platform or service. Yeah, the key underlying thing is we are built on open standards. Yeah, so we'll see that in a moment. Let's look at this in action, right? What happens when you implement Affinidi Login? It's a passwordless mechanism. So it would ask a user to share certain attributes, and the attributes will be coming from personal data store. The personal data store will be, the user will have access, or user may choose to give access to this data to this particular website, right? It's that simple. You don't have a password anymore. Have you seen any password in this little bit of demo? No, right? So all it asks for is your attributes, first name, last name, so on. You may choose to give access to data. This data is from your own personal data store. So it's not something that the service provider controls. It's your control, right? Now let's look at how this can be applied in e-commerce, right? What's the biggest problem in e-commerce these days? Conversion rate, right? Conversion rate is so low in e-commerce. It is, it's practically like, it's very hard to convince customers to buy something if you do what they are after, right? So what if you can have all the context? Say you have, you know your customer very well, you have their gender, you based on their and where they so you should be able to targeted merchandise. You should be able to drive better interactions, have this information. But why would you user? Because the user be able to offer, so like, a discount on product or something of that. So we'll see that in a moment, how it translated into business opportunity. If you offer some value to your customer, then they would be this information. So, and it's coming directly from the user. Always, there is a trusted relation between and the business, right? So let's get a quick demo of how this works. Let's, in this case, I'm showing right, where this we are calling it as your. So this, in this case, you have a list of products is an e-bite. So see how the recommendations code by collecting the data user. So let's the recommendations in this case are coming directly share the personal data store. So the data points are gender in this case. Based on the gender, we are offering them merchandise which appeals to women in this case, right? Okay, so now we have the female products. We want to change the currency because the user might not be operating from America or US. We looked where the user is coming, in this case Singapore. So now we showed them in local currency, which is the Singapore dollars. Okay, this is awesome, right? Now if we want to allow users to check easily, what do we need? We should not if we ask them another set of forms, that they might pop off at that time, right? So we can collect their address from there, and then we want to offer some sort of payment. Payment generally will through bank, but if you want to offer cash on delivery, you want to check whether the user is really a user or is it a robo. So for that, you would want to check whether the user is really alive, like, we call it as live check. It's basically coming from your personal data store again. So that's how you can improve your customer experience. So we have seen how this can improve the recommendations. We have seen how it can improve the localization in terms of currency, language preferences, so on. How this can improve the checkout process. We have seen how the can be made smoother. So you can imagine all kinds of use cases there, right? So I'll quickly demo this as well, because, like, as we promised, we want to show a real live implementation that you can get started on WordPress, right? So let me get started with the WordPress. So I'm showing you the WordPress admin page. For the sake of, so folks who are not aware of WordPress, so WordPress, so it's a content management system where you do your own website, right? So you can pages, page, whatever. For the ease of convenience, I have installed a plugin called WooCommerce. So WooCommerce by default gives us all these pages, so you don't have to actually create all these pages yourself. WooCommerce does it for you. So let's look at my account, which is pretty common in most websites, right? So if I look at it at how it looks like for a user, a user would see it. So login screen, and you have a register button, and you want to make sure to eliminate these things, right? So what I can do is I can go to the admin page again, get started with Affinidi Login setup. So to get the best is to go to docs.affinidi.com. So the docs.affinidi.com, right? So all the material that I'm going to talk is available as documented steps in the affinidi.com. The links are available in our website as well. So you can see we have a little bit more technology itself, and with the Affinidi login, we have Vault and all that stuff. Down in the labs, there is a section called Reduce Consumer, and in this section we have integrate Shopify and Wix. So now let's in WordPress. Use that. So this is at WordPress. So I'm going to walk you through the instruction. So if you go to admin page again and go to plugins and add plugin, you should be able to find, for Affinidi plugin, you should find it. And I have installed it, but if you are doing it for the first, go ahead and install it, activate this plugin. Once you have done that, you should be able to see setting section. You should be able to see a new tab called login. Go ahead and click on that, and it will ask you to create issuer URL and so on. Right? So where it's coming from? Quick background on our technology. We're an OIDC compliant authentication system. What it means, so OIDC, for folks who are not aware, is OpenID Connect. This is the protocol by social media, social, Google, or so on and so forth. It's the most popular one. So using the same authentication, that is very. So the sake of convenience, I'll just it's extremely easy to get the login configuration. All you have to do is go to portal.com and developer. So first time you actually last for it, but so this is the developer portal that I'm showing. Left side on the menu should be able to see the product already implemented. And click on Affinidi login. So when you click on Affinidi, it will show you all the existing configurations. Now create a new login configuration. Once you have done that, you would be able to create a login config, something like this. So I am using right now. Everything is showcased from. But if it is a real use case, you should be able to run URL there. So once you have created your redirect URL, and show you how it looks. So first time when you try to create configuration, it will ask for configuration name. It will ask for redirect URL. Redirect URL, just make sure that you have website followed by query parameter. This is the implementation done for WordPress. But if you want way of doing things in your own, like, you're welcome to do that, of course. And one important thing that we need to note is authentication method in this case, none, because we are going to the path for this authentication is the PK flow. Developers know a little bit more about the PKC. You don't need to worry too much about it. Just select none. So once you have done that, you should be able to see the authentic or client ID and the issuer. So just go ahead and copy client ID and issuer and put it in the configurations in the WordPress, and you are done. That's it pretty much. Now, coming back to the page that we talked about, the My Account page, let's go ahead and account page. Let's add a new blog. So some of you who are not aware of how this works. So in WordPress, you have several blogs, right? So you can have a paragraph blog or heading blog, table, or so on. So all you have to do is just drag and drop page, which block you want to use, right? For the sake of, for the ease convenience, we have created a shortcode block through the plugin that you have installed just now. So I'll just drag and drop it just above my WooCommerce plugin, my account page. And shortcode we have provided for unions is Affinidi _, right? So now I update this. First, you'll have to update. And then now I open the page. So log out from the admin page, see how the account page has changed. So as you remember, if you remember, we used to have a register. Now we have a button as well. Click on the login. That should fetch data from your personal data store. So the personal data store that we're talking about here, it could be Chrome extension, web app, or if Android app. If you're working on it, it's an Android app. So once you have installed the plugin, you should look something like this, right? Once you have installed our Vault, it will first time register. It will ask for your details, like some of your details that you want to share. So once you have entered this data, you should be able to share that with in this. So let me just click on Login one more time. So now I'm using Chrome extension. So this is of my, right? But if you don't want this friction, you can always skip. You can all web app for that. So in that, the user don't even need to install extension. So I'll take path and allow access. The user is now giving to all this data to be shared e-commerce website that we had. So now access, and we just want, I have onboarded, sir, right? So in this first name, last name, got all of that. I also got few other details like my email address and so forth, and I got the ad of the user as well. So it's that easy. With just one click, we add all that information. So you need to worry about how filling all this form, right? Let me log out. You might wonder, I don't even want my user. I have my merchandise. So I have this page. Let's say this is my. I wanted to directly just proceed to checkout, and so, I don't want this onboarding friction as well. So generally, if you don't have all this information, you would be asking this big form to fill. So let's see, be simplified, right? Now under the admin name, the same process before, going in as admin. Now I go to my page. Under my chat page, let me just add a new block. Same process before. I add shortcode here, and the shortcode is _login, and I update, and I open the page, right? Let me log out. Same process before. So I have the cart, and I'm adding an element to a cart. Now I proceed to the checkout form, but I have one more Affinidi login, so you can call it out with Affinidi, and so which you prefer. So I click on the same process before. I'm asking information to be shared from the personal data. So log in with the Chrome extension, which is already installed on my application, my machine. And same process before, it is asking for all these data points, access. And I got all this data coming in direct. So the form is filled for me. Damn simple, isn't it? Like reduces the user friction like never before. So how to get started, as we talked about. So like different for WordPress users, this is the easier. Shopify instruction for that we have demo Shopify as well. If you are using any other technology, so there are several labs out here. It's about different languages and frameworks, Affinidi Login, and so on and so forth. Let me quickly show you how easy it is for also. So for developers, we have opened a because developers love to type and use CLI and so forth, right? So that's why I created a CLI. So you can install Affinidi CLI, Affinidi/CLI command, installing it npm install the Affinidi CLI. So I'm not do that because I already have CLI. So install that Affinidi help. So that will all the list of commands that are in the CLI, right? So one of the advantages of CLI is it makes it easy to create your own app. So generate using command, we can create a new. I'm going to show it in a moment. You can also see your projects. You can see your configurations. So there's a bunch of quick access commands. I will encourage you. I invite you to try it out. Let's before we get it, I need to first log my CLI. Just like how you do a CLI. For example, if you are using AWS CLI, you would need to get started by creating AWS config like that. The same way we'll have a command called start, and the start the developer has to begin. And we preach practice what we preach. So we have integrated that with the vault as well. So the developer vault we are using for log CLI. So now we authenticated successfully, as you can see. So let me clear this. And I said it's extremely easy to get your own application. So all you have to do is generate app, and that would ask you what. So by default, we have our own identity property. But if you are using the IDP like Auth0, you're welcome to do that. So we have it's easy to integrate with that. So I go with the default Affinidi. Now, if you're a Python developer, you might want to go code or .NET use this one. Java, we have an app that you can get started with. So we just get started with the Next.js because a lot of folks are, JavaScript is popular out there. So let's get started with the Next.js. And I'll enter a random. This is you can choose a name for the directory. So it is asking whether I want to configure the environment, whether the CLI whether you want the CLI to configure the configuration automatically. So it is a WordPress login configuration available. Do you want to use it or a new login configuration? So I create a new login configuration. I call it as sample next. It will be, I'm just giving you this. And when you create a login, give you the client ID and so important thing is now you should see that sample next. So let me open next tab in Node. So before run this, we'll have to, because application will have to do npm. So while that, if you look at the code, you can see this is an Next.js app, and you have the environment here, but the CLI has automatically configured the environment. So you can see client secret and everything. It has all the necessary routes and everything. Not go through every single step, but you can see that all your reference code is available right away. So sorry about that. So get into next, and then I do npm install, and that would create the fetch all this for me. So for different applications, you would have to do different types of installs, obviously, right? So the process different for different frameworks. And when you are done with the install, you should be able to this application. Just give it a few seconds, and we are done. I run npm run dev, and that would open up this Next.js app localhost. So let me just open that localhost 3000. see that it's already pink. Yeah, so it's easy to get started with our own implementing, right? As I said, with login configuration, you already have this Affinidi on that, and you should be do all right. So would request you to go ahead and check affinidi.com website. Should have a bunch of information here, the resources, lab events, docs. For developers, we have a developer portal, as I said, Affinidi portal. So there are a lot of events coming up. To reach out to us if you have questions and so forth. Yeah, so to our presentation. Just one few things before we jump off. So a scene is a login, but it's only a start. So the reason why we with Affinidi Login, that's the first step that users will be interested in, right? So we wanted to reduce friction for users, but we have built sort of ecosystem. So we call it as a network. So it is based the decentralized step that we have talked about. The center of everything is the vault, personal data store of the user talked about. But then building connector framework, which pull in, which is a framework to data from different silos talked about earlier. So if you're data with social media or some other PDF format or any other in data, everything will be as a connector in the connector where we concierge, like a concierge, this AI gives insights and run your personal, and it really information reads for both for the current, maybe if the information with businesses value, right? And we're building Affinity message. So what is this really? People spam messages. You don't necessarily with everything that the spam you don't trust, you have no way of getting up all the spam messages. So the user should disengage if they're trusted anymore, right? You would want to solicit consent from the user before you that user is enabled with Affinity message. And then everything is built decentralized tech. We call it a cement stack. So the one which is powering all magic. So just a quick reminder, go to our documentation web. It's very comprehensive. Please our developer tools, CLI, check out and go to affinity. There are a bunch of coming in. You can also demos. There are clubs that you can book if you're in cities that we are doing these meetups. Looking forward there. So we are a startup. We're looking for feedback, right? So, and again, a recap of what we have seen today. We start with the big picture why, understanding the need for personalized datums, a little bit about the holistic identity solution to the Web 2.0 problems. We talked a bit about the login, and we have seen of WordPress bump up very easily, and then the developer tools that will help you to get started very. With that, thank you very much. Thanks for joining the session today. We'll leave all the comments, links, and and the information in the description. Please do check out. And thank you very much for your time. Looking forward to your feedback, and I'll see you in the next webinar or event. Thank you very much.